Hey everyone, this is Brian from ActiveMelody.com. We're continuing our look at the major and minor pentatonic scale. And in this lesson we take a look at the sweet spot where those two scales meet, and you can get all kinds of great solos out of this one area. We're in the key of A now as opposed to the key of E. And I also take it upon myself to play an entire solo using just two notes to prove that it can be done. So let's take a look. Alright, so real quick before we get started, I just want to mention that you can download the jam track for this lesson for free if you go to ActiveMelody.com. It's kind of an up-tempo blues in the key of A. Now up to this point we've been playing in the key of E. So if you remember, we've looked at the major and minor pentatonic scales for the key of E, and as a quick refresher, the minor pentatonic scale for E, by the way this is the 12th fret, these little moons are confusing, but anyway, the minor pentatonic scale for the key of E, the root position of that looks like this. I know I kind of flew through that, but I have a whole lesson on that if you need it at ActiveMelody.com. A lesson on the major and minor pentatonic scales. So anyway, that's what the key of E looks like. And remember, the root fret here is the 12th fret, so most of the notes that we were hitting were on the 12th fret. Now, this lesson is in the key of A. So the nice thing about the guitar is you don't have to rememorize different patterns. That same pattern will apply. You just have to shift everything down so that the root fret is the 5th fret now. So if I take that same pattern and play it here, I'm playing the minor pentatonic scale in the key of A. So real quickly, that's the 8th fret, 5th fret, 8th fret, 5th fret, 7th, 5th, 7th, 5th, 7th, 5th, 8th, 5th. So that's what it looks like. Now what I'm going to do in this lesson is I'm going to show you a couple of things, but I'm going to show you how to play, primarily to play a pretty cool blues lead using only two notes. And what I'm going to do is, so if that's the minor pentatonic scale, you remember the major pentatonic scale, we shifted everything down 3 frets, right? So the major pentatonic scale for the key of A looks like this. So it's that same pattern, right? Well, there's a point here where the two scales kind of blend, and this is kind of a sweet spot when you're playing. And what that is so if the first 4 notes of that minor pentatonic scale look like this, right? Well, if instead of doing that, if I did this, instead of hitting this 8th fret, if I hit the 7th fret for the 1st and 3rd note that I just played there, so it looks like that. That's actually the major pentatonic scale. So this is minor, this is major. So it's kind of a nice way to jump back and forth just by taking what's going on here and playing it either here or here. If it's here, if it's on the 8th fret, it's minor pentatonic, it's blues. If it's here, it's major pentatonic, so it's happy sounding. Okay, so I mentioned that there was kind of a sweet spot here where the major and minor pentatonic scales meet. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to demonstrate that by showing you a solo by only using 2 positions. I'm going to use, and these are going to be in the major pentatonic scale position. Because I'm going to use the 7th fret here instead of the 8th. So check this out, using just 2 positions here, these two. On the 1st string, isn't that cool? You can play a whole solo with 2 notes, really, or 2 positions. You can get all kinds of ideas, you know, just playing with 2 notes. It's not about all the flash, it's really about just getting the sound and the vibrato and stuff. So now imagine if we introduce the blues scale along with that. So if that's the major scale, happy. With the blues scale, check this out, I'm going to go to the 8th fret now instead, so listen to the difference. Hear the difference? Hear how much bluesier that sounds? So the difference, so now that's all on the top string, or the high E string. We can do the same thing, same combination if we're down on the B string. So now we got 3 extra notes. So that's the minor pentatonic scale. Now if we slide it down to here, major pentatonic scale. So minor, major. So check this out. Now you got all these combinations. So it's all happening on 2 strings between the minor and major pentatonic scale. I'm so tempted to move down to another string, but let me turn this off. I don't want to, just to demonstrate that you can play a lot on just those 2 strings there. So anyway, the point of this lesson, I don't really have tablature to go along with it, but the point of this lesson is to show that you can play entire solos now. That opens up a whole lot of possibilities when you see where the minor pentatonic scale and the major pentatonic scale, where the 2 worlds meet there. And that's why you'll hear a lot of artists doing that. B.B. King uses a lot of the sort of the major stuff, but then he'll kind of, instead of doing a full bend, he'll do just sort of a half bend like this. So he's hitting that note, which, remember, that puts you in the minor pentatonic scale. So depending on how hard you bend it, major, minor. All those little subtleties are what make your playing. So never think that it's all about memorizing scales and going, having to play them really quickly. It's you have to know the scales, but just as important, you have to be able to hit all the nuances and be able to understand how the scales work together, those 2 scales in particular. So I hope that's been helpful to you. We'll see you in the next lesson.